Machine Pencil Cartography. My channel's goals are to educate my audience about diverse topics in navigation and cartography. Today, I have chosen to discuss navigation at night, and particularly, I have chosen to discuss navigating in the very limited visibility of darkness. The first thing that you will notice is that at night we cannot see the sun. This is relevant because we often use the sun for our source of direction. I often use a technique called reading sun cues to give me a sense of direction, since I know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. I will even admit that I often use sun cues instead of my compass. This is embarrassing to admit given my occupation, since you might expect an experienced navigator to reliably use their compass instead of the sun. It might seem ironic that I do this, but I am human too. However, when we are discussing navigation at night, we must remember that the sun will actually be down. As a result, reading sun cues at night does not work. If you find yourself lost at night without a compass, you will quickly find yourself disorientated, and you cannot recover your orientation even with your best effort, because without the proper equipment or advanced techniques like reading the stars, orientating yourself at night without a compass is actually impossible. You should remember that using the sun cues to navigate is a technique that cannot always be relied on. We should think of this technique as the exception to the rule, and we should not think that reading sun cues was a legitimate replacement for learning how to navigate properly using a compass. For this reason, we have a policy that states that a navigator's reliance on their compass is actually amplified during the night. You will be especially dependent on your compass at night, and you will be even more dependent on these instruments than you were during the day. Next, we will discuss our visibility at night. You should remember that visibility is usually measured in range, and that we will normally measure our visibility in meters. For example, our visibility during the day might be 200 meters or even approaching 500 meters. However, our visibility at night is substantially decreased. At night, we are more likely to be unable to see things, even when they are only 10 to 20 meters away from our faces, because they were too dark. The conventional solution for this problem is to use a flashlight. There are a handful of different flashlight solutions that I have tried. One solution that is especially common in orienteering for sport is called a headlamp, and many runners like to use headlamps at night. Headlamps are best used for illuminating your feet as you run, so that you are more aware of the objects in your immediate path. Wearing a headlamp will help you to avoid tripping over logs or falling from high places, because without being able to see your immediate path, you would be especially vulnerable to tactical mistakes at the very small scales. This instrument is ideal for providing illumination for foot surveillance, so that you can see your feet as you walk. This instrument is ideal for illuminating objects in the 5 to 10 meter range. Handheld flashlights are ascertained for use cases that are different from what would be ideal for headlamps. You can apparently purchase ultra-bright flashlights, which are rated for as many lumens as the manufacturers are willing to sell you, or apparently as bright as they are legally allowed to sell you. I have only ever used flashlights that maxed out at around 2,500 lumens, except they reportedly have ultra-bright flashlights on the market that go over 10,000 lumens. When you use your handheld flashlight in the high beam mode, a handheld flashlight could comfortably illuminate an area that was 200 meters away from you. Handheld flashlights often feature lenses so that you can adjust the focus on the light beam as well. The ability to see objects that are hundreds of meters away is important for navigation because navigation requires large-scale motion planning, and you need to be able to see well in order to make large-scale motion planning decisions. You are more likely to experience dead-end paths and have to turn back while your vision is impaired. As an intermediate navigator, I have experienced that we will sometimes need to combine several of our navigational skills at the same time. On one occasion, I was navigating in a familiar region in the dark, and it was raining that night. The result was that the very same trails that would normally be easy to walk on were actually flooded over with water, requiring me to wade through the floodwater to complete my navigation for the night. What I learned was that this task was difficult to complete because my flashlights are electronic devices, and they are inherently vulnerable to water damage. Therefore, I have to suspend my flashlights over the water level in order to prevent them from getting water damage. On another occasion, I was performing a river walk at night for practice, and I realized that I was actually relatively uncomfortable keeping my flashlights on while I was wading in the water because these flashlights are electronic devices and they don't mix well with water. The only thing though is that my flashlights are rendered useless if I have to put them away into my dry bags to complete my navigation. What I have discovered through multiple epochs of experimentation with navigating using flashlights at night was that it is a good idea to get a waterproof flashlight so that your flashlights don't have to be placed away into your dry bags when you are combining bathymetric navigation techniques with nighttime navigation techniques. The waterproof flashlights that I would recommend are scuba diving flashlights, which are designed to be submersible underwater, and these flashlights are rated for being submersed under up to 80 meters of water without breaking. For this reason, I believe that these scuba diving flashlights are an excellent choice for navigation at night. Next, it is important to discuss our safety considerations for navigating at night. Parallel to being able to see well enough for large-scale motion planning tasks, our other important considerations for navigation at night will include being able to navigate safely at night, since there are actually some inherent hazards to going out at night. Our night orienteering hazards are mostly variations of the normal hazards that are present during the day, except that the dangers involved are exaggerated by not being able to see them. We can recall a list of our normal hazards, such as the dangers of falling from a high place, if you are navigating in a highly vertical area, such as the mountains or the hills, in the darkness of night. Also, the risks of drowning in a river or lake might be higher if you are braving these obstacles at night, for no particular reason other than your diminished capabilities of accurately estimating the dangers involved in these operations. All it would take for you to get injured is for you to underestimate the hazards involved in a single operation. Another hazard that is notoriously relevant for navigating at night is the danger of getting struck by a motor vehicle, because humans are involved in this activity and because they have decreased visibility at night. It is a known fact that you're especially likely to get struck by a car if you are walking as a pedestrian in the night. This is one reason why you should consider changing into high visibility clothing while you're performing these operations. Or at least you should consider wearing some retroreflective morale patches, which feature ergonomic effects that would help you to avoid getting struck by cars. I personally prefer the patch solution because high visibility clothing is ugly, and the Velcro patches have lower encumbrances than the other solutions available. Another subtle and important to understate hazard of navigation at night can be other people, such as criminal activity and also encounters with wild animals at night, since animals are often defensive of their territories at night. These instruments can be effective ways to improve your overall situational awareness and defensive posture at night, making them a valid strategy for improving your safety during navigations at night. Finally, I plan to discuss how your overall orienteering performance and expectations are affected during navigations at night. It is important to learn how the geographical conditions at night will affect our navigational strategies. The nighttime conditions are especially beneficial during the summer when you're coping with hazardous extreme heat, because the temperatures outside will be colder during the night than they are during the day. During the summer, your metabolism will perform better, and your body will have more energy available during the night than your body has during the day. So, this is a great reason to prefer nighttime orienteering in the summer, because it actually feels good during the summer. In a climate of already low visibility, you are naturally going to want to stay out of the herbaceous lands, because the visual occlusions in the forest will compound with the occlusion of darkness, creating conditions that are either dangerous or very unpleasant. As a result of the decreased visibility, you are going to adapt an entirely different style of navigation for nighttime orienteering than you're going to adapt for daytime orienteering. One of my recommendations is trail running at night, because this is a very exciting activity as a result of your speed. Also, trail running has the tendency of avoiding difficult navigational challenges that might be especially dangerous at night. You are going to want to be a lot more cautious of where you're going at night, and you're going to reason through navigational problems through an entirely different system of perception. For example, I have a rule that I stick to myself, that I don't wear headphones and listen to music if I'm walking at night, because through my experience, I have noticed that my ability to hear things at night offers important supplementary information. The reason for this is that as a result of our impaired sense of vision, we are increasingly reliant on our other senses and also our instincts to keep us safe at night. Thank you for your attention. This has been Machine Pencil Cartography, signing out.